All right, we are back for another episode of the Romy Podcast. It's been a little bit of a bit. It's been a bit since I've done one of these episodes where I've had a picture on Zoom and I've done a Zoom recording with a picture showing the picture. Actually, last episode, it's kind of a muddy episode. I had it edited because there were several pauses. And the reason why that last episode was so bad is because I thought that I was clear, but I just wasn't. And so I looked up the fact that, okay, using this voice recording app is not going to result in the voice recording not being saved. It will always be saved, and that's what it confirmed to me. Any doubt in my mind that says no, 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 it won't be. That's my OCD. So that's what I need to remember. That's what I need to respect. So therefore, I will respect that. And I will, well, I mean, not respect, excuse me, I'm not thinking clearly. I will know that. I will know that. I will know that that's just OCD. That's just worries, doubts, anxieties that creep up. I mean, Pluto's retrograde, and it's really been bothering the heck out of me ever since it went retrograde. Literally, since it went retrograde, all these insecurities have just come up, and I could not ignore them. Like, I cannot ignore these insecurities. I cannot, you know, do all this with just ignoring every little insecurity that I have. Um, it just comes up and I have to address it and I have to, talk about it and deal with it head on. Otherwise, Pluto's just going to keep knocking at the door like the big bad wolf and it's eventually going to take the house down. So, um, that is really, um, what it is you know, asking you to face what you're afraid to face. And so any little thing just is like loosened up and comes up. Like any little thing from like everything at the sea, like the sea was flat. And then now all this stuff is just rising from the sea and it's floating in the ocean, coming up to the surface, and then I have to look at it. So that's how this Pluto retrograde has felt for me. It's been really, really personal and it's been really affecting me. And oh my goodness, this Mercury retrograde. We'll see how this goes. I want to be optimistic. I don't want to be fear-based. I don't want to be panicked or whatever about it. But we shall see. But anyway, I know now that it's gonna work out every single time. I looked it up. As long as I have enough storage space saved, and as long as, you know, yeah, that's the only reason why it would be unlikely. And it said, Google Gemini told me, like, this is what you can do to eliminate the 1%. So there you go. Gave certainty. Gave enough certainty when it comes to that. So, with certain things, when it comes to recording my videos when I'm passionate about it, I cannot operate on the possibility of it not going well or it not working. I cannot operate on gambling to record something or gambling to post something and it not posting or it not publishing, it not the recording not saving. I just on a mental, emotional level, psychological level, I cannot handle that. I cannot handle that. I cannot deal with it. So that kind of uncertainty got put up for me really, really strongly in the whole, thing. And then, I've gotten the issue fixed with Spotify, but it's like, uh, you know, and I don't want to get stuck on my points here. If I don't emphasize something enough, oh well, I don't emphasize enough. So I emphasize that point, moving on to my next point. Okay? I'm just learning to not get stuck on certain points, but um to keep moving forward because I get stuck and I pause and I use filler words and I do this like I'm just gonna learn to just detach from having to suck everything out, squeeze everything out of this point and just move on. So I'm gonna move on. So Spotify had some issues. It's like for the past, this is so interesting. I did three videos that didn't work out, that didn't get published on Spotify. You know what they were? They were the general video, the general astrology video for the past full moons. Like I don't know what it is about the full moon videos, but they haven't worked out. The full moon in Scorpio, On May 1st, I did that video. April 23rd, there was the technical issue with Spotify, it didn't get published. Something happened when it comes to the video for the Full Moon in Sagittarius video on Spotify, that I did May 28th, I believe it was, and the video didn't get published. The video didn't get published. So I had to get advisors to help me do that. And then lo and behold, June 24th, when I did the video on the full moon in Capricorn, I was certain that it was going to work, and it didn't because there was a technical difficulty, and I kept waiting around for it to publish, and so it didn't. And so I talked, chatted with advisors, and there was a technical issue. They had a tech team, and so now I can trust that it's gonna publish from now on, and I hope that the next video that I do on a full moon in a sign will not have an issue. Oh, please. Like, I hope that that next video on the next full moon in I think July 29th is when it is in Aquarius will not have any technical issue with Spotify. So anyway, I thought that I might talk about this. But what I wanted to chat about today was this feeling of being caught in like between a rock and a hard place. Now, this all comes back to an interaction that I had the other day with somebody that I know that I work with professionally. And there were some things said, there were some words exchanged, um, seeing what I have done and being upset about it. And, for a lot of different reasons, really, that we talked about. And I mentioned some of this on the Jupiter and Leo video that I did. I kind of peppered in the story in that video, so you can go back and say, by the way, your Jupiter and Leo, like I did a lot of the full moon and Capricorn videos are up, the Mercury retrograde forecasts are up, and the Jupiter and Leo forecasts transit videos are up on the Cosmic Sky podcast on YouTube and Spotify, so you can go check those out if you so wish to. But anyway, this thing of like, of keeping relationships and interactions anonymous, not not mentioning anyone, not, doing this, not doing this. And this is a kind of mind twister for me because it kind of rubs against a belief that I have that I expressed in another podcast episode, which is that my belief around considering others, acting from a soul-centered place. And really, I think that I've had the same belief my whole life. Now, I have matured in this belief. I have gotten more respectful, diplomatic, tactful, kind, considerate, more mature in my life. I have grown, I have evolved. Yet, I finally found the container. I finally found the right thing. And it was the whole fact around the soul versus the ego. And I think this is so helpful for me. And I really, really want to do exercises with myself around determining and discerning what state of being I am in so that I can make sure that I'm in my soul as much as I possibly can because, I have an ego, we all have egos. And we are all trying to do the best we can to not be in the negative low vibrations of our ego because our ego is really our personality. There is an upside to it, but the ego shouldn't drive the ship. So that's what I want to say. So, in that video, my belief about considering others, I was talking about how if you are in a soul-centered place, you are in a truthful, sovereign place, and I'm living in this mono-reality. Thank goodness it's not a contracted reality where we have evolved and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And this relationship that I have is a very Aquarius-like relationship. It's a relationship where anything goes, freedom, trust is not exempt from that, respect, authenticity is present in this relationship. It is very Aquarius Leo like. I would describe that as being signs. And I don't want to be an example of the South Node and Leo shadows that are coming up in July of this year. I'm going to do videos on the South Node and Leo North Node Aquarius. I already did your your July 2026 shorts that will come out on a daily basis. I've already filmed those. I've already scheduled those. I was very, very busy the other day and then the 24th doing those. So I don't want to be the reflection of Jupiter and Leo, but I do want to embody Leo energy at its best. I want to not have the validation, need the validation. I don't want to be arrogant and overly prideful and this and that, and I have no intention of being that. I don't want to need all the external validation, need all of this and need all of that. I want to be Aquarius. I want to think of the greater good, but I want to march to the beat of my own drum and rebel and be my true, authentic self with who I am being and who I am embodying in my life. So, Jupiter's in Leo. Mars is going to be retrograde in Leo. There's going to be a lot of Leo activations throughout this whole retrograde cycle. So, this is about healing the shadows to move into the light side of Leo. By all means, let's do Leo during this whole transit, but let's release the shadows and let's embody Aquarius energy by embodying Leo energy at its best. Creativity, playful. It's based around the heart. It's based around creative self-expression. It's based around generosity. It's great about shining your light, not being afraid to dim your like not dimming your light. Like there's all these positives to Leo energy that I want to embody out for you in this way when it comes to this energy of Leo. So I want to excuse me. I want to do this. So you know, so um so I kind of went down a rabbit hole or a kind of a tangent here, a little side story. What I if I didn't if I don't remember what I was talking about before, I want to go back to what I was just saying, which was um y- you know I was talking in the Jupiter and Leo video about superiority and not thinking that you are better than others, not thinking that you are superior or better than anyone else. Because no one is really better than anyone else. And I do have to look at saying that I am superior and really looking at myself and going, I wish I didn't say that. Now knowing, you know, and I will not deny my true honest feelings about myself and what feels right after interacting with another person because who knows what feels right at one moment could feel very, very different. Something it couldn't feel right another moment. Something else could feel right. So now certain things feel right as I learn and grow, and nobody's perfect. I mean, you're not going to be totally evolved and totally grown. You're just growing and learning. So you shouldn't shame yourself and judge yourself for not being the most evolved at this stage of your life because we're all, we're continuing to grow and continuing to be wise. Like that's the part of wisdom is being really, really smart, but also having the humility to know, okay, I am not the most wise, quote unquote, or intelligent or smart or, sage person out there that I can continually learn through life. And the downside of Sagittarius energy is self-righteous qualities, saying that you are better. The downside of Leo energy is arrogance and, over excessive pride and hubris and all that kind of thing like that. And I do not want to embody that. And I have the Sun square Jupiter in my soul return chart. I was just watching that video, my soul return video not too long ago. And I want to take advantage of the gifts of Jupiter. I don't want to overindulge. And so I try to be very mindful of what I put out on my channel. in a way where I'm liberating myself to be fully my authentic self and do that. Um, and really, the other little nugget is that I've gained is that we all put on different personas of ourselves. It depends upon the situation. Um, we express different aspects of our personality. We have different sides. I could be one way in real life, I could be another way in social media. That's another insight that I gained. So, I'm glad that the words were exchanged and it was talked about. And I think that it's necessary to have difficult conversations because it's actually builds trust and transparency and integrity and connection with the person instead of holding it in just to keep the peace. So I was talking to, a family member on the phone not too long ago, and I just really, really disagreed with a lot of the things that we were talking about because some of the things that she was saying because it's like, what about healthy relationships? What about healthy relating? What about authenticity? That doesn't seem to align with that. And it brings into this conversation here that I'm going to talk about. In that video on living from a soul-centered place, I talked about felt doing what feels right. And does it really feel right to take others down? Does it really feel right to prove that you're better than others or defeat others or try to fight others or try to be strong and tough and angry and hurt others and burn others to the ground? I mean, does it really feel right to do that? I think that we're all spiritual beings, we're all soul beings, we all have a soul imprint in us, we all have intuition, we all have souls, and the soul is very, very loving, open, expansive. And I think that when we are connected to our souls, we are not gonna be all, you know, mean, disrespectful. However, I will admit that somebody's authentic response may not be what the person wants, and people may be rejecting of that. And that's where we have to discern between, okay, where am I coming from? And you knowing yourself, because you're the one that knows yourself most fully. So if this person's validating that you are saying this and that you're not dropping in, it's not open, not expansive, not kind, then then that's one thing. But again, if they're just disapproving it and you're like, I know my sovereignty and I know my truth, and we really then it gets into the mind because then you question yourself, then you question yourself like, am I in my soul? Am I this? Am I? And then you get all confused and you start overthinking and you just don't drop into what is true, like an automatic thing, like your soul and your intuition, automatic. I know it is true. I feel what is true. And that's the way that it is. That's the way that it is. And so I think always do it feel is you feel is right is what I want to emphasize here with a point that I want to make in this episode is doing what feels right for you. Um, and I mean, if it feels right to be all mean and hurt somebody, then question how you were raised, what kind of people you know in your life, question your psychological patterns, psychological baggage, question a lot of that because I will say that if you're so into pathological narcissism, for instance, and you need constant validation, you're continually hurting others and shutting others down and wanting to be the center of attention and be an energy vampire, then that's going to be really, really ingrained in you. And it does take and I'm not going to not say that it's not a serious thing. And it does take the healing work to unwind all of those patterns because it is a knot you can get yourself into. But, and I'm going to talk about trust in this, and I'm going to talk about it very spirit very, generously, and I'm going to talk about it very honestly. Trust in relationships is important. Trust is an earned thing. Um, you just can't trust anyone. It has to be earned in your life. So, um, you know, a good friend will respect who you are and will respect what you authentically want to do in your life and what you authentically want to do in your authenticity. And if that friend should have a YouTube channel and should have social media and should have this and that, and if an issue happens and the person wants to talk about it, but is questioning themselves on the fence of whether or not they should make a video about it and talk about it, should they do it? Well, now let me be honest. Um, it is good to talk to the person, yes. It is good to ask the person, yes. However, this is where it gets tricky because social media is a place for you, not for your friends. It is not for your friends. It is a place for you and your self-expression. And so it is where it is your business. Okay. It is your business. What you do on social media is your business, not other people's. Now, other people can know about it and other people can see it, but you are in control of what you put on there, and you're perfectly worthy to post anything that you feel is right, and that is right. I mean, accounting for the fact that it does, providing that it doesn't violate YouTube's guidelines of what to post. If it's anything pornographic or inappropriate or whatever, well, don't post it. Okay. But just to say, you know, if it costs you your own heart and soul and authenticity, if it costs you your own self-expression and your what you authentically want to express, that is where you have to detach from the preciousness and the fragility of what you think the relationship is. And I mean, if the relationship isn't fragile, then what kind of relationship is it? Relationships shouldn't be fragile. You're like, what if the person walks out on you? What if the person rejects me? Well, what if? You get into overthinking. And then if you go too far down that rabbit hole, you're gonna hold in what you want to express. And you're gonna be inauthentic. You're gonna hold in your own truth. And you're like, what if they don't like it? And you're just constantly in kind of a stuck deciding an analysis paralysis of whether or neurotic, whether or not you should post this or you should not. And you're feeling like you're imprisoned by this relationship, by this person that you can't say what you authentically want to say because this relationship is holding you back. Yet at the same time, you care about the relationship. So, one of the other things that we talked about is discernment, discerning social media from real life. I keep having this recurring thought like, what stays in Vegas happens, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I mean, what happens online should stay online. I mean, I do have to give some thought to that because, y- you know, there's two separate realities. There's the real life that you're living, and then there's the online reality. The online life, where you're just plugged into the whole universe and plugged into the whole world. And not everyone is going to see the video. And only the right people who are going to want to click on the video will click on the video and hear it. and they may or may not like it. You don't have any control over the outside world and who clicks on your video and who watches it. You don't have any control of how many subscribers that you get. If I had control, I'd be over 1,000 subscribers by now. I'd be monetizing for my content. But nope, I don't have control over that. So you don't have control. You don't have control. And I'm not saying that you do have control. But do you really want to betray somebody? I mean, honestly, I think that if you're in a relationship where you really, really care and value the person you're like, I think that you would authentically feel like you don't want to betray the person by just spilling your guts online about it. Like I think that you would feel like you shouldn't do that. And if it does, you may have information that you do want to share, but what it comes down to is this: what is ethical and what feels right are actually one in the same. I want you to remember that. What is ethical and what feels right are actually one and the same, because otherwise, intuition shouldn't exist. This living from the soul shouldn't exist. Spirituality shouldn't exist. And we should be living in a logical left brain world. Like, no. Okay, so they're not separate. Authenticity and considering others are not separate entities. They are combined. And it all comes down to this right here. Always do whatever you feel is right. Okay? Always do whatever you feel is right. And I think that that goes to show that depends upon whatever you do. If you feel like it's safe and it's okay, like you feel like you can easily breathe and relax. I mean, do not do what doesn't feel right. And I will admit I have done some things that have not felt right in my life. I've done a lot of things, in fact, that haven't felt right. And you know, and so doing what y- you know if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If you feel like it's just wrong and it doesn't feel right on an intuitive level, like if it feels off, then don't put yourself at risk. Don't take that risk if it's not a vibrational match. It does take some work to discern fear between intuition. So don't tell me that what feels right and is actually right are two different things. Because guess what? They're not. Okay? They're just not. If you are a spiritual person, I think that you would really, really believe this. Okay? So, what is, authentic, um, is not ego. It is on a soul level. And what is authentic is also what is kind, and what is authentic is also naturally, spiritually, on a feeling based level, considering the other person involved. I am not going to go up into the mind and question myself and limit myself because I'm thinking, I'm trying to analyze in my head what they're going to think. And if they're going to disapprove, and and considering the other person, what, no, no. I mean, we are meant to use our minds. Let's use our minds, but ultimately, let's drop into what feels right and go that direction. Like, we are meant to use our minds. Our mind is connected to a part of our body. We are meant to think. We are meant to consider. We are meant to do all that, but not at the expense of our own sovereignty, of our own truth, and what we want to express out into the world. So these are my beliefs. These are my beliefs. And I'm going to try to be as strong as I can, rooted in myself, although it's very, very difficult for me. And I'm building up the muscle of being strong and not being in the emotions of it when I get when my vibration gets lowered, when I hear somebody, challenging my beliefs, like, no, this is what I believe, you're not wrong, but I will be strong in what I believe. And this is what I believe. And I don't intend to have this belief change because it's from the outside in, and it's from the outside world that this belief gets changed. I mean, factors from the outside world could be part of it, sure, but I will not change the belief unless I feel it's right to change the belief, and I will live in alignment with my beliefs. So, that is what it means to be authentic also, is to live in alignment with your beliefs. So, you know, so this is really, really, important here. So, um, I mean, what other things can I say about this? Children act rashly and impulsively and negatively because they haven't discerned yet what is their real true sense of self, their intuition, intuitive, psychic, I want to say, we could say psychic sense of self. Um, well, I guess that's accurate. Like, we're all psychic, we're all intuitive, and that's the truth of life. Discerning between that and their ego self, their false sense self. And so they get, they complain, they whine, they do all this because and they don't consider others, not because they're just, because they're, impulsive. They don't drop into what feels right just yet, and they don't have that awareness. So we could just teach children to just follow their intuition and trust their gut and just take a breather and breathe before just reacting and getting all mad and fighting and kidding and throwing and like I think that we can have a better world with children. And I want to say super nanny. I think that if you throw in the spiritual component to it, I think that that's just going to be another layer to it because Super Nanny, Joe Frost is an expert on raising children and nurturing children. She is a cancer after all and is a more humanitarian cancerian person. Um, you know, and children shouldn't feel like they should be, like I shared a post to my stories recently around children, my Instagram stories about children not being able to have the final say in family. And um I will kind of challenge that a little bit because y- 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 you know really, are children just not knowledgeable enough around? I mean, they may not be knowledgeable enough around certain things, but really, I mean, I was hearing it, and it was like learning to accept disappointment, learning to do all this. Well, how do they feel it? They need to feel like their authenticity is getting considered. And parents, I agreed with a lot of what was said in that clip, but it was like, well, here you go. I'm going to underwhelm you now that you're so used to these lessons. I mean, you know, children should be conditioned and trained to trust their own inner knowing, their own intuition. And if it feels intuitively right, if it is right, the children can work with the parents instead of just being top-down authority figure to have the parents rule the roost. I mean, you think about teenagers, that's a time in your life where um you're more of an adult brain. You want more control, you're growing, and we have to understand and respect that. Teenagers should absolutely have a say in um in certain things because they are growing, and you know what happens when a teenager is controlled. Well, they will rebel. It is part of the makeup of the adolescent way of being, and we have to understand that we have to respect that. So, um, where we are not just, we're working where everyone's working collaboratively, where everyone's working together. We're living in a much better world where everyone, no matter what age, maybe if they're not like an infant or whatever, but if they're what age, we can work together. And we're not separating people by just age. Like you're younger, you're less than, you're a minor, you're older. Like everyone can be equal. Now, yes, people will be more knowledgeable than others on certain things, and yes, certain people will be more of an authority, but everyone is worthy to have their opinions and work with each other, including children, to work with the parents to come up with a final decision. And so that's what I think from my heart. How it ties into what I'm saying here, I don't know. I kind of got off on that, rant and rabbit hole there. This is kind of I'm kind of going off a little bit now, but just to say, going back to my main point here in this episode, that I want to emphasize here, um, discern between the social media and the friend relationship. I mean, if it comes at the cost of your own authenticity, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. And nobody is wrong for thinking that certain things are more important to them than other people think that certain other things are more important to them. I mean, in your heart, in your authenticity, if it's more important for you to, do these certain things in this relationship, then do it. I'm not holding you back from that. But if you honestly feel like I want to get this out, I want to express this, I want to voice this, and I want to make a video about it, I want to do a podcast about it, then feel free. And, if they should say no, then explain like I want to do this and and be strong within yourself and be what I'm gonna do it. Be strong about, that you're going to do it. And that's where, I mean, really, and this is gonna be highly separating, cutting for me to say cutting, like your knife cutting, but I mean, really, does it really matter who it is? I mean, you gotta be an individual, an individual. You gotta individuate yourself. You gotta know your values. You gotta be true to yourself and not let others keep you from being the person that you want to be and expressing your authentic self. And that's what I truly believe. And you are your own best friend. And by all means, we're all social creatures. We absolutely should have relationships. Everyone should have relationships. I'm saying this and thinking to myself, gosh, pretty lonely world if we're not relating to each other, and if we don't know how to relate in a way that is not logic, that is not the label shouted, that is not considering others in all these kind of things. Because what feels right and what is right are linked. Because otherwise intuition is false. Apparently, logic is right, intuition is wrong. Oh, wait a second. That contradicts a lot of spiritual principles, doesn't it? Okay. 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 Well, I'm here to challenge what is ethically right and what feels right being different. I'm here to challenge that understanding and say, no, I think that if you're really, really tuned in, you will do one of the many things that feel right. It's not just one thing, it's not just two things. It could be many things that feel right, depending upon the situation. It all is relative to the situation involved and what it is and what the topic is, and how enthusiastic you want to share it, and what all the logistics, okay? So it's all relative, and that's what I also want to say. Is there anything I didn't cover with this that I need to address and get off my chest? I believe that that is it. Um, point being, choose authenticity, choose kindness, choose truth, choose benevolence, choose, all that kind of thing, and do what is true for you. If you really value the relationship, do what's true for you. If you really want to express your true self, then likewise. Okay? So that's all I'm saying here, okay? Do what feels right is the quote that I'm leaving you with that you can see on this picture right here. That's the whole, that's the bottom line of this video. And the bottom line of a lot of stuff that I talk about in my videos. My astrology videos, my real big podcast. I mean, yeah. So anyway, enough talking, enough chit chat. I will see you on the next episode of the Real Me podcast, whenever it is that I want to do another episode. It's been a long time since I've done one. I thought I'd come on and do one because I felt really compelled. Tomorrow I will be doing the monthly videos for your 12 for excuse me, the collective overview for the month, and then I think on the 28th or the tomorrow if I feel like it. If I feel like it, I'm going to do the 12 signs for discussing the month of July, which has some really unique and interesting astrology in it, a lot of aspects going on, which I will be hopefully discussing in that video coming up tomorrow, giving my thoughts about it, giving just an overview for you of what you can expect for the month of July. So anyway, bye for now, and I will see you next time, everybody. Take good care.